We're going to wait a couple minutes as people are strolling in. Iraq. All right. So before we jump into the presentation, first of all, for many of you, you're like, who is this guy? My name is Dr. Eliezer Jones. I'm very excited to be here. I know that this is a challenging and unusual time. Words you're actually sick of hearing at this point, but I'm really happy to be here with you during this time. And I am here as the high school principal. Now, what I wanted to do was frame this evening, and I want to frame it really in the framing that has brought all of us to Hebrew Academy, and that framing is Torah. And this week's Parsha is Parshas Eikav. And what's happening is Moshe is sort of giving his last pep talk to the Jews before they enter the land of Israel. And one of the lessons that he gives the Jews is the lesson of the man. And if you remember the man, this was the food that Hashem provided for the Jewish people while they're in the desert, and it can taste like anything. It was pretty awesome. And Moshe explained that the lesson there was to, as the Torah says, a pretty famous phrase, that man does not live on bread alone. And then the pasuk continues, but can live on anything Hashem decrees or wants. What does that mean? That it means that we need Hashem for everything, and that Hashem will be there for us. It's a lesson of emunah, of faith. However, if any of you recall this story in the Torah, it really didn't seem like a story of faith. It seemed like the Jews were losing faith. And if you go back to Bamidbar and Parshas Balotecha, we find the Jews complaining in the most fantastical way. The pasuk actually uses very just strange language. The Jews are screaming, Vi'ata nafshenu, Yevesha ein kol, bilti el haman inenu. Sort of the paraphrase, the language, like they said, our lives are parched, our souls are shriveled, they're drying up, there's nothing at all, there's nothing to look at but this man. Now, as Jews, I know we know how to fetch, we know how to complain, but really? We're complaining about miracle food that comes from the sky that can taste like anything you want? When I learned about this as a kid, I salivated. Pizza for breakfast, ice cream for lunch, candy bar for dinner. It was amazing. And yes, human nature, we get used to things, but do we really get used to miracle bread? That's actually exactly what happened. It became monotonous. While the man was certainly a welcome source of needed nutrition, it was a difficult journey, they were hungry, but it became a perpetual loop, a Groundhog Day of sorts. While the man tasted like anything they wanted, it looked the same. It was like a block of tofu, and don't get me wrong, I love tofu like the next guy, but not every meal, not day after day. And it was starting to drive them crazy. But I'll be honest, every time I learned this, I was like, it just still doesn't make sense. But it did start to make sense during this pandemic. Every day we have on this earth is a bracha. It's a blessing. It's a miracle. But when I came from Illinois, when we got the shelter in place, I spent nearly every moment in my house. I didn't get to go to shul anymore like I love to go. I didn't get to hang out with my friends like I like to do. Pesach was without extended family. I didn't get to walk into a school building and just feel and hear the noise of learning. It was hard. It was hard, and it continues to be hard. It continues to be challenging. Our days have become monotonous, challenging, and for some, even worse, it's brought illness, sadness, and despair. But what I do know to be true is it doesn't end in this. It doesn't end in this pandemic. Just like the Jews who struggled in the desert on a very difficult journey, where they were nearly at their destination, they made it. They made it to Eretz Yisrael. They made it to Israel. They made it to the Promised Land. So too, our journey is going to be over soon. And the Chida, who was an 18th century Jewish scholar, he brings a very interesting connection between this monotony of the man and lighting of Shabbat candles. And I hope it helps a little bit in thinking how we get through this, but it certainly helps me in thinking about education. One of the reasons we light Shabbat candles is to allow us to see our food so that we can get more enjoyment from it. So it increases our oneg Shabbos, our joy of Shabbos. Now, of course, with electricity and timers, we really don't appreciate the Shabbos candles like we used to because we get to see food all the time. But the idea was that if we couldn't see the food, then in our minds, the food appeared to be the same all the time and it wasn't enjoyable. exactly like the mun. Even if you can taste a different taste every time, it looked the same all the time. And the lighting of the Shabbat candles, it brings joy and delight instead of hardship and despair. So that's the lesson. That's the lesson to break the monotony. We truly must find ways to bring light into the darkness. We have to break the monotony by focusing on creating sparks of joy and inspiration, sparks of community. And as educators, that starts with your children in our classrooms. The poet William Yeats wrote, "Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire." Schools of education, and I actually really have to attribute this to a colleague of mine who framed it this way, and it has driven me as an educator for years. Schools of education are not meant to just be places where subjects are taught. Sure, we do that and we do that well, but we're teaching children, not subjects. And every single one of the children within them is a unique and beautiful spark waiting to be ignited and fanned so that they shine. That's what tonight's about. It's not just about COVID. Our schools should never feel monotonous. We should never lose focus on the individual spark of each child. And in a time of a pandemic, that focus becomes even clearer and more important. I know we will get through this together. And like the Jews in the desert, we'll make it to the promised land. And for us right now, that's Hebrew Academy in Miami. Mirz Hashem, after, please God, it'll be Eretz Yisrael, it'll be Israel. But right now, I know we'll make it back into the Hebrew Academy. This isn't just about COVID, it's about our future. It's building on the last 70 years and looking forward to the next. So I know you already know this, but everything the school has done before tonight and moving forward cannot occur without our teachers. So I want to thank the teachers who are on the call tonight and who aren't. You guys are truly on the front lines. And as we prepare to be in the building, hopefully in the near future, you're truly going to be in the front lines in every sense of the word. So I just want to take a moment and thank all of you. I also want to thank the board of directors and the educational leadership of the school. Rabbi Gutenberg, you know this, but you inspired me to move my entire family to take on this role because of your vision of taking a great school to greater heights. So I thank you for that. I want to thank you, Rabbi Basowich, who has been a tremendous thought partner and support before I came here and after I arrived here in Miami. I also want to thank you, Rachel Weinberger, for helping me navigate and get settled in the position, and a really, truly special thank you to you, Dr. Lieber, who's been, it feels like, honestly, we've been working together for years, but it's only been a few short weeks, but you've been an amazing partner in our work here. I could not have gotten up to speed in the way that I needed to without you. Your dedication to this school is truly unparalleled, and I look forward to our partnership moving forward. And with that, Dr. Lieber, if you wouldn't mind saying a few opening remarks.
Okay, well, thank you. That was very sweet. I think I have a couple quick thank yous as well, and then I'm going to move on. But it's very important to note, Dr. Jones said it right. We would not be here without all the people that play a role. I think Rabbi Gutenberg, Rabbi Boswich, Dr. Jones, I'm going to put the three of you together and tell you this is going to be my 18th year, almost 2 decades at the Hebrew Academy. And I have never been so excited to work as a part of this admin team that we have moving forward. The way that you have visions, your creativity, your out of the box thinking, just everything that you guys seem to be doing and moving this high school in the right direction. It's a pleasure to be a part of it. I'm excited to be a part of it. I think 18, as we all know, is a special year. So I think it's going to be a special year for all of us at the Hebrew Academy. So thank you all. A little bit of a shout out also to Terry, to Donna, to Mrs. Ennis, who have been working tirelessly all summer to make sure that whether we go remote, whether we are in school, out of school, a hybrid of both, that everything is in check and ready to go. So thank you to them. And we're going to get to the teachers in just 1 second. I have a little bit of a story to say, and then I will, of course, be thanking the teachers. This is not to say that the board of directors and everyone else and the entire admin team, we thank all of you. I'll echo what Dr. Jones said. This is unprecedented times, and we needed a real team. So thank you all for being part of this team. This summer, my brother, who's a doctor, went into a store, a Under Armour store. For those of you that don't know what Under Armour is, it's basically irrelevant to the story, but it's like workout wear and whatnot. And he went in and he got to the register and he went to go pay. And he said, I actually get the additional discount because I'm a doctor, and it says that there are, discounts for people that are on the front lines. And the worker at the store said, actually, no, it's great that you're a doctor, but the discount is for teachers. And he came back and he said, I think he was a bit taken aback, especially since his wife was actually working with COVID patients as a doctor too. And he came and he sat down and he said, can you believe it? They obviously didn't understand that doctors are front, which is true. Obviously, the doctors are also frontline workers. But when he sat down and I said to him, now take a step back. Who have been the real superheroes? Not to say that the doctors, of course, are always the superheroes. Doctors should always be acknowledged for what they do and how they save lives. But let's just pause for a moment and think about what these teachers have done and what they continue to do. The teachers in our building almost overnight had to change their entire system and platform to go from in-school teaching to remote learning. They had to be able to educate your children and impact them in the exact same way that they would impact them in person. That is not an easy feat. They did it, and they did it so well. I'm sure most of you that are returning families and new families, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. Could attest to the fact that the high school was in a great position when we were remote and your children were learning. We have taken the time and made the schedule even better, which we will get to later on in the presentation. But I'd like to acknowledge the teachers. Without the teachers, we are almost nothing. We could have the best admin team, we could have the best leadership, but I think they do need a round of applause because these teachers are truly on the front line. They are giving up, a lot of them in the middle of this pandemic. Their families needed them, but our school needed them too. And they were able to balance both of those things. So without further ado, I think not only am I totally appreciative of the teachers, as are we all on this call, I'm sure, but going into the next year, just keep in mind what they are doing, what we are expecting of them, and be patient. We are all working together. We are all going to make sure, as Dr. Jones said, no child is the same. No child needs the same kind of education, the same kind of support, the same kind of presentations that are going to ignite them. Every child is different. And so these teachers not only are teaching, but they're actually looking at the whole child. And it's spectacular what they've done and what they continue to do. So with that, I'm going to show you a slide of all the teachers that are returning so that you guys can take a look. And then these are all our teachers that are returning. I'm sure most of you, not the new families, but again, so happy you're here. You will get to know all these teachers, but these are all our returning teachers that make up our incredible staff. Great. And then we welcome some new teachers to our staff. I'd like to start with Rabbi Varani. He'll be teaching Judaics. Welcome. Miss Lorraine Dana, who's an alumni of our school. Actually, she was my student, as was Rabbi Varani, by the way, which I found out he was in middle school while I was the guidance counselor. So I'm not sure how old that makes me, or maybe it just makes him really young. So Rabbi Varani, we're excited. Miss Lorraine Dana, we're very excited. Mr. Philip Nandin is going to be teaching math. He's going to be in our math department. Mr. Tim Patton is going to be part of our history department. And Miss Joan Walters is going to be part of our English department. I think they are on this call. We welcome you with open arms, and we know we feel very blessed. I will say, we can definitely clap. We feel very blessed that during this global pandemic, we were able to secure top of the line candidates. And I say that truly, honestly, they are very strong. You will all be very impressed by their talents, and we're excited that they're joining our team. So thank you all. Thank you to the teachers. Thank you to everyone. And we are going to move on. What does 2021 look like for all of you?
So thank you, Dara. This is what we're here for tonight. And I really hope that by the end of this, you are impressed as much as I am impressed with all the hard work that has gone into what this year is going to look like. I do want to start, before we talk about all the changes and all the things that we've done to improve the program, it's really important to know that there is so much about the program that was great. So I think it's really important to say that while at times school might look radically different, we plan on it being comfortably familiar. We have an amazing set of electives. If you're if you're new and you haven't gotten those electives, let us know. But we have all the great electives of last year. We added some amazing new ones, like we're starting an improv team, an improv league. I know I'm going to say that 1,000 times because I'm teaching it, and I'm very excited. But we have all our amazing classes. We have all of our APs. We've got the Warrior Word. We're adding a podcast too. We have all our amazing classes from Chumash and Gemara, our criminal justice. We're going to have Shabbatons, hopefully not virtually, which I don't know how we'd possibly be able to do, but we are planning to increase our student life, which we're going to hear about a little bit later. This is going to be an amazing year. I have no doubt. So when it looks different, it's still going to be amazing, and and it's because we're building on such a strong foundation. But if you were on the middle school town hall last night, before I even get to these guiding pillars, you saw this in the middle school one, and I actually speaks to also what we're thinking about the future, is that we want more collaboration among the divisions. This is one school. This isn't a lower school, middle school, and a high school. This is one school, and these pillars were shared and discussed and collaborated on between the middle school and the high school, because we don't want 8th graders to be like, oh, what high school am I going to, and maybe we're a consideration, and that transition to be difficult. It should be a very seamless transition. And so we're very excited I've had a few meetings already with the middle school. They're an amazing leadership team, and I'm really excited for the work we're doing. But what's guiding us is these 3 guiding pillars: safety and well-being, academic and spiritual growth, and community. Now, I'll be honest, these should be guiding us whether there's COVID or not. And they do, and they will. But some of these things we have to focus on maybe more or a little differently because of COVID, and we will. So I want to jump into the safety and well-being. We're committed to providing a safe and healthy environment. Before the announcement of us, starting remote, the amount of work that's gone into the building, we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm sure some of you have probably been on way too many town hall meetings talking about the safety plan, so I'm not going to go into every little detail, but if you feel that you missed something, please ask it at the end. But I do recommend that you go to the website, and on top, the safety plan is there with a lot more detail. But we are going to be doing things a little differently in order to be safe, but also that our kids are doing okay, not just physically, but emotionally. So the safety plan is really focused on 4 main things: masks. We all have to wear masks. It's not an option. Social distancing. The classes are going to be arranged when we're in the building. When you're remote, you can be as close to the computer as you want to be. Don't worry. But in the building, we're going to have kids 6 feet apart. When we're going to have outside activities, we're going to keep the social distancing. Health screening every morning. We're going to make sure that kids are not coming into the building sick, and sanitizing. We're going to have a deep clean every single day, and teachers are going to sanitize in between classes. That is the basic safety plan. I'll tell you, I was at the building today. I saw these brand new water fountains coming in with the contactless filling of the water bottles. The school has spared no expense to make sure that our kids will be safe when we're in the building. I say this as sort of new to Miami, and I'm not going to lie. When I came here, I got a little nervous about reading what's happening in Miami. Where I came from, it was safer. Help us return to campus. We want to be in campus. Your kids want to be in campus. I'm pretty confident you want your kids out of your house, in the building. We want them too. I want to be out of my house and in the building. But we can't do that without you. We will do everything we can for when the kids return, that we are as safe as possible. But if the behavior outside of campus is not safe, it's going to take longer for the numbers to go down, and we won't be able to open up the campus. And I'll say this also: when we are back in the building, we're going to take things very seriously. So if a child comes and is struggling, which many teachers will, we will work with them. We will help them. But if they struggle to keep a mask on and they cannot follow the rules for their safety and the safety of others, we will have the remote option, and they will be asked to do that. So we will be taking the safety very seriously, and we ask you to do the same. I mean, I don't want to go as far as begging, but I'm begging. We really do need to do this together. But it's not just physical, it's social, emotional. I mean, this is, I'm sure if you afterwards want to send me emails, for so many of your kids, this has been harder than you thought. Being isolated, being separated from your friends, I mean, again, if you're following the rules properly, it's been hard. And we are taking that into consideration. We are going to be making sure that we continue our social emotional support. Dr. London is still a part of our amazing team and is, you know, from what I've met her a few times, she's amazing. She's going to continue to go above and beyond to make sure all of our students are doing okay. We're going to have wellness check-ins when we're remote. We're going to be checking in on the students in class. How are they doing? Because even when we're in their building, we're still holding all the anxieties of COVID. We are going to increase our remote and in-person social programs, and we'll get into a little bit more detail soon. We are going to be, I know there's already a lot of family resources out there, but we're going to provide more of that. And we're also looking, and I'm very excited for something that Dr. Lieber and I are going to do, but we want to increase family programming as well, not just for the students. And we also want the students, this is a general thing that's important anyway, is that the students have to have more of a voice in their education, in their school, help them become leaders. What they say should matter to us as educators, but during this time, we also want to hear, how are they doing? How is the schedule working for them? How are the classes? How are the programs? So we're coming up with systems of surveys. Hopefully the student council will help us in coming up with ways to make sure that the student voice is represented in what we're doing. And then, and this is a really, some people think the schedule is just a logistic, thing on paper, but the whole schedule was created with wellness in mind, but also the future of the school and what's best for students, even if we weren't holding this anxiety. So before we get into the schedule, we're also taking the transition into school very, very seriously. So for all our little fishies that are coming, when they come into school, we do a lot of this anyway, but we're actually going to do more of it. But we do peer 12th graders with 9th graders and with new students. And, we are having a 9th grade orientation. And right now we are looking to do that in person, figuring out a way to do that extremely safely. Do you want to mute that person? And extremely safely. And, but we do feel that it's important for the freshmen and the new students to be able to see each other. I got it. And to feel comfortable starting a new year, which could be, have a lot of anxiety for any regular year. We are looking for separate new student orientation. We are going to have a back to school bash. I've heard you guys had some crazy back to school bashes in the past. We'll find a nice healthy medium there. We are going to be doing also grade-wide orientations because this year is very different. So we want to make sure that every kid is feeling comfortable coming in. And the first day of school, even remote, we're going to have welcome ceremonies, introduce a new theme, and we're going to have a first day that looks a little different than a regular first day remotely so that we are transitioning all of our students in a comfortable way. So it is on the forefront of our mind, and in probably the next week or so, we'll be sending out dates and details around all of those things. So this takes us to our next pillar, the academic and spiritual growth, a pillar of any good school. But for this year, a lot of it had to do with our schedule change. Make sure that what we provide this year is something that is as robust and rigorous as has been in the past, but also flexible and caring. So I understand that when we went remote, when COVID hit, there was a lot of scrambling, and I understand you guys did an amazing job. The teachers did an amazing job, but the classes were basically cut in half. And certainly that was an easier load, but the concern of sort of reflecting on that is that what was missed. So we took the account of we needed to be more robust, but we also need to still be flexible, and we need the load to be manageable. So the schedule is framed in well-being, but with that, as I said, we're going to increase the Judaic programming, we're going to increase our student life programming, and we're going to maintain a forward momentum. We're not letting COVID become a wall that we hit and stop. We're learning through it, but we are moving forward, and we're not going to let it slow us down. So I'm going to give you the overview and then give it over to Dr. Lieber, but we've created what we call an adaptive schedule. And I know that people have used the term hybrid in different ways, but the idea is it's adaptive to deal with the different possibilities of what's happening in the world. So we hope to all be in the building soon. We hope. And when that happens, we still know there are some families that are not going to be comfortable being in the building. So we created this hybrid piece. The hybrid means it's not different days. The hybrid means that while I'm teaching with my students in the classroom, there are going to be students that are at home. And I actually tested out the system today. It's pretty cool. They put 2 cameras in every classroom that shows the front of the room and the back of the room. And then in the back, there's a TV, so if I'm a teacher teaching in the front of the room, the students see me and they see them. If I move to the back of the room, I can switch cameras. I like to move around a lot, so they can see me the whole time. They can see all the students in the room. They're also gonna be able to ask questions. We're gonna assign a student to the chat, so they're gonna be as engaged as possible. It's going to be very interactive, and it's going to be as close to them being in the room as possible. It's not going to be them just sitting watching a video. They are going to be active participants in the classroom. And then, of course, the all remote, which is what we're going to do for the next few weeks. And I will say, I've been meeting with a group of teachers for the last 3 weeks. We call it the reopening committee, looking over the safety plan, but we've actually shifted into the teaching and learning that happens during this time. And what I have seen is that there's been a building of skills and a building of knowledge of how to teach remotely in the most effective way, how that remote learning could be as close to the vibrant in-class experience. And my hope is that your children will see that difference starting August 24th. So with that, this is a big reveal. So is everyone sitting down? Diana, you sitting? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is a big, Dr. Lieber, right? This is a big reveal. This is a new schedule.
Yes.
I'm excited. Here we go.
I'm ready. Okay. It's going to look a little confusing, but I'm going to walk everyone through it. Do not be confused. I promise we will go over it so many times with your kids that they will understand everything. I'm going to echo what Dr. Jones said. We realized a lot of things during COVID. The one thing that we realized the most is that the 9 classes was a bit tedious, a little overwhelming, and just a lot for the students to handle, whether they were in school or out of school. That was the first thing we noticed, and we addressed it. What it's going to look like is, if you look at the schedule that's on, that says high school schedule, not the remote one for this conversation, the high school schedule, we are going to have classes that run Monday and Wednesday. We're going to run 4 academic classes each day, plus an elective. What we realized also is the students need an elective every day. Even if that class, it happens to be an academic one, they need that in their schedule. So we're going to have periods A, B, C, and D. For argument's sake, that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to have an elective. We have Shachrit in the morning, and we will have Mincha in the afternoon. What we also realized pretty early on is that period at the end of the day was so vital to so many students. A lot of parents struggle to get tutors. They want extra support for their kids. The tutors that I realize work best are the teachers. They know the curriculum, they know the forum, they know what they're looking for. So what we realized is to have that period at the end of the day, that if a child has an essay due and they need help, or they were struggling in the class lesson today and they need help, they can go to it in person, they can go to it remotely. It's going to be a designated period. That period is going to be every single day as well, except for when we go to the 1:30 dismissals on Friday. So the way it's going to work is they will have periods A through D on Monday and Wednesday. They will have periods E through H, again, Tuesday and Thursday. And then Fridays, every other Friday will replicate either Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. So as you see in the box under Friday, it's A or E, B or F, and we will have a website that will show every week, so you don't have to worry which week we're on. You will always know. We will not have to put it in a group chat. It will be up on our website. You will be connected with us all the time, and you'll be able to, your students, your kids, which is the most important, will be able to see what they have coming up on Friday. What we also realized is the 3 minutes between classes, we needed to extend that. We are in the middle of a global pandemic. We are, God willing, coming back to school, and we are, paramount to everything else is the safety of the kids and to our staff. With that said, we gave 10-minute staggered breaks between the classes. What that means is when the bell rings, actually we're not even having bells this year, but when we play some sort of nice tune or, whatever it is that, designates that the period is over. We are going to go on the loudspeaker when we are in school, and we are going to announce which students are going to leave. If we do all of this right, we do not want all the kids to be congregating in the hallways at the same time. So we have left 10 minutes, which will mean ninth graders can leave at a certain time, or whatever floor you're on, we'll figure that out so that you can get to the next class safely. We will also be able to clean out that classroom for your kids so that they can come into a clean classroom before they start their next period. Davening still stays after the first period when we are in school. If you move over to the right, the high school remote schedule is almost identical. The only difference with the remote schedule is that we will start the day with tefillah. The reason we are doing that with remote is if some of you, your kids go to your local shuls, if they are open and running, if you daven quickly and you don't want to wait through, we are going to let the students daven at home by themselves. After that, we are going to require that all students come on for announcements. What that means is we are going to have a lot of fun things, whether we're remote, whether we're in person, we are going to have things that they are going to want to hear. Please have them log in at that time. We're going to go through it. It's only 10 minutes, so it's not that long. Dr. Jones has been threatening that he's going to say some dad jokes during that time. I don't know if the kids are going to think it's so funny, but we're going to be able to have some announcements, some hopefully student council can make announcements at that time, and just make your kids aware of what's going on. So I hope that's clear. If we could just go to the next slide for 1 minute, Dr. Jones, and everyone will be getting these schedules and we'll be going over it with your kids in each of your orientations. The other thing that I didn't say, which is why I wanted this slide, the staggered start. We realize also, again, having all students show up and rushing into class to get there at 7:50 in the morning isn't going to work. So what we've decided to do is we have a staggered start. We'll have ninth graders and 10th graders. They'll get their temperature check, they'll have wellness checks, and then they will come into class. Then 10 minutes later, the 11th graders and the 12th graders will come. So again, what we're trying to avoid is that, 150 to 170 kids all come into the building at the same time. We are going to have that staggered start to avoid that. As I said, the all remote, the only difference is the tefillah and the announcements. So, I didn't even see this slide. Did you ever, maybe coffee? Oh, that's cute. Okay, so with that said, I kind of like that slide. All right, we went over these slides about 5 different times and 5 different versions, and I did not see that joke. So I think what the most important thing that you can get out of this is not only do we take your whole child into account, but we are going to not stop with that. We are going to every 2 weeks revisit, or 2 to 3 weeks, revisit the schedule with your students. Does it work? What's working? What do you like? What don't you like? And anything like that. The period at the end of the day not only is for extra help, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this, it's also for AP classes. If AP classes feel that they cannot cover the material in the amount of time, then they are going to go and utilize that extra period. So that's what that is there for, not just the teacher office hours and additional support, homework help, academic support, social emotional. That's a time that you can definitely connect with Dr. London. Again, I could say it a million times, but it's going to be true every time. We really care about your child. We care about what's best for them, and we want to make sure that they are successful at every level, not just academic, that they don't fit into a little box, and they get all the support that they need to be successful at our school. So with that said, I spoke about the schedule, but I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jones, why we feel like this block.
Yes, I do want to explain the optional thing at the end. The study lab was something we were talking about even without COVID. We thought we want to increase student support. We do think that's important. And with COVID, it just pushed it to the forefront. But the reason it's optional, and there's an asterisk, is that we put it at the end of the day because we do know that there are some families that are dealing with a lot. Some kids are holding a lot. It will be an opportunity for some students to leave early. Now, next year, that study lab might move to a different time, but we put it intentionally at the end of the day with the idea that, yes, it's going to be okay. Maybe it's one day a week, twice a week, or maybe it's every day for certain kids. They get to leave early. But the asterisk is also like the AP support. If you're in an AP class and there's an AP class that uses that time slot once, twice a week, maybe more, that would be a requirement. If a student is really struggling academically or they need that extra support, we may say you must go to that period. So that's why the optional is with an asterisk. But again, I want to reiterate, we put it at the end of the day to give that possibility for some kids to be able to leave. And that will be okay. We'll just need to know that. So just to clarify the class meetings, what they're going to look like. So 60-minute blocks for the core days, not except for Friday, 4 core classes a day, 1 elective daily, 10-minute staggered passing periods. Dr. Lieber talked about a longer lunch during the week, not Fridays, and of course that study lab. So it is a lot of change that we think is going to be extremely positive and supportive of the students. And we will see at the end of the year how much of this we continue with. But that 60-minute block, it did start off with a question of, why are we doing this? And one was we did want to minimize movement. So we also were thinking about safety. We didn't want 9 periods, 9 passing periods. It was going to get complicated and unsafe. But with that said, there's also great value to a longer learning period. This is another opportunity also for collaboration with the middle school who's doing it. And again, by the time these kids in middle school graduate and come to us and they're doing more block periods, they're going to be very comfortable with it when they come to high school. But the benefit of a block is there's time for direct instruction. I can give a 15-minute lesson, I can give a 20-minute lesson, but then there's time for flexible learning where it's more project-based or hands-on, and opportunities to go deeper. I will say, if any of, the goal isn't that any of our teachers now are lecturing for 60 minutes, unless it's an amazingly interactive and engaging and fun lecture, and that happens. But that isn't the idea of a block, is to allow for a deeper dive into learning, for more meaningful connection to the real world. And even on remote, which I'm sure if you're thinking, oh my God, my kid's gonna be sitting in front of a computer for 60 minutes and a lecture. No, that is not the goal. Our teachers are ones that we've been working on this committee, and when we meet with them the week before school and do PD, is that there's flexibility. The teachers are given the flexibility to take that 60 minutes and do what they feel is best educationally. So they may have a time where they're giving direct instruction, putting the kids in breakout rooms and they're working collaboratively, or say, for the next 20 minutes, you're gonna go offline, you're gonna do research, you're gonna do this, or you're gonna do something that has nothing to do with the computer. And every teacher will have that flexibility and autonomy to make that happen. And obviously, if it works for most kids and it's not working for your child, you're going to let us know and we're going to see what we can do. Call this the year of flexibility, but in general, I think when it comes to teaching children, not subjects, we have to be as flexible as we possibly can to reach them. So we're very excited about the block, even though it came out of COVID. Looking to see, is this something that is going to just be better educationally, which everything points to yes, but we haven't done it yet. So we're excited and we're going to support the teachers in reimagining their classrooms if it's daunting to go that extra 20 minutes, which meeting the teachers that I met, I'm not worried. So with that said, I know there's a lot of questions about college guidance. I've had a few meetings with Mrs. Edis already, and I'm very excited and confident in the work that's happening. I know, Sue, that this has been a crazy summer, and I know that it's been just insane thinking about what's going on with the colleges. And in talking to you, my anxiety went down knowing that you had it under control. But I do want to throw it over to you because I'm sure at least half the parents, if not more, it's on their mind. Can we unmute her? Let's see. I think you can. There you go.
Okay. Well, first I want to thank everyone. I want to thank the administration for all the support. I have to tell you, although we are going virtual, I'm excited about this year because the senior class is amazing. The kids are great. I've been talking to a lot of them over the summer, and I have to tell you that the entire guidance department, which includes Terry and I, 2 people, has been proactive all summer. We have been in touch with colleges. Terry got the Naviance program that we use to send records up and running. We are ready, we're excited, and everything will go hopefully as prescribed as we normally do, even though we're virtual. So let me allay any fears, any anxiety. I will be meeting with each student individually, and we will go over the goals, the hopes, the dreams, and I will help with every application. And Terry, my amazing secretary, is there to help with any of the technical aspects of getting it on the computer and downloading it and uploading forms and getting it together. So you don't have to worry in terms of the kids' physical applications. I will be going over their essays together with the English department, and everything is set in a protocol. And I even have a couple colleges lined up to do individual Zoom meetings and interviews with some of the students. So that'll be forthcoming. And I want to give a shout out, just to allay any anxiety, the AP teachers who had to leave the classroom and go remotely. Our school as a whole, I have checked the scores in Florida and globally, and our AP scores were higher than most of the country and globally. So thank you to our AP teachers who, in spite of everything, came through, and our kids, for those of you who don't know, the AP are advanced placement college credit courses. And out of the 9 or 10 courses we offered, 90% of them were well above the national norm. So congratulations to our AP teachers. And I want to thank the school for putting up with me. I've asked for a lot of things, including opening the building for SAT and ACT testing when we're not open. So we will follow the prescribed health protocols and allow our students to test who haven't been able to test. So thank you again to everybody who's been part of this. And I'm looking forward to a great year. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be here for questions later if anyone wants.
Thank you. And thank you for everything you do. And also congratulations to the students who scored well in the APs. It's not an easy process, and certainly not under this time. So if any of your kids took it and did well, please wish them congratulations.
Thank you.
I just, before I introduce Oshrat, Mrs. Tweedo, we met this week. Was it this week? You know, time seems to be, I don't actually know. It's Wednesday, right? We sat and we met, and it was the first time we sat down. And I'll be honest, like, it seemed like there was a little anxiety, like, you know, am I going to like your ideas? Literally every idea that Oshrat had got me excited. I was like, that's amazing. That's fantastic. And we started to brainstorm and think. And, you know, I don't know when I was going through this process if anyone read my resume, but I did start off many, I know I don't look old, but I'm old. Back in the day, I was a director of student life. And I believe it is as valuable as any course that we teach and any other program that we have. It's a co-curricular program. And I feel very confident in the conversation we had and the plans that you have. And I'm really excited for our students, honestly, that we can really bring sort of a thread of excitement, inspiration into the school through student life. And so with that, Mrs. Tweedo.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. Thank you, Rabbi Jones, Dr. Jones. It was a great meeting. I came out of the meeting with a huge smile. I'm like, he loved my ideas, which was great because I'm very eager to go back and start working. Speaking about school spirit. So the main idea of school spirit is that each student feels in the center. Each student is involved. Each one is well informed and feels like his opinion is important and heard. So while the activity department usually mainly works with the help of student council, we do want each student to shine, each individual to feel like he's part of the school, he's part of the planning, he's part of what's happening in school. So this year we will assign different committees that students can be part of. They can be heard, they can bring their ideas into the table and help with the planning, and they can make a difference and help make this year unforgettable. Our favorite activities from years before will continue to happen, whether virtually or, God willing, Bezrat Hashem, in the building. We have additional ones in additional planning on the table. And can't wait to make all of this happen. I really, really hope that all of you are at least as excited as I am to go back to school. So for now, stay safe and go Warriors.
Thank you very much. I know you're already starting to work hard on those orientations and for the freshmen and new students. And that takes us to our last pillar, community. Now, the Hebrew Academy it is its own ecosystem, it's its own community, and we're going to talk in a second how, we want to support that, and we want to think even beyond that. But we're going to continue to be driven by the values of the Academy. We are going to be increasing professional development around COVID, because while it's still here, we need to make sure that we are helping our community understand the best way to be safe. We're going to continue these town halls. I know that there's many, but they're there to help you. So we're going to have as many as you need or want. Check in with the families, things like that. And of course, as we've been talking about, increased social activities in school and remote. So with that, you may have heard this in the other town halls. Something I'm super excited about is, when COVID happened, I'm sure there was a strong sense of confusion and even disconnection. What's happening? What's the schedule? What's going on? So in a conversation about thinking about starting this year, we decided that we're going to launch something called HA Hebrew Academy Connected. If you look at the ED, it's adorable, education. And the idea is that we're going to have a location, a platform, a place that you can go to when you have a question, when you're not sure about something, to get resources, to get more family resources, to know what new programs are coming out. We want to make sure that while we go through this year, whether we're out of the building or back in the building, or God forbid have to go out again, that you have a location that keeps you connected. So we are launching this, it's being worked on, and very excited for when that gets launched. And it's something we're going to populate throughout the year. So if you reach out to us and say, I went to it and it didn't have something I was looking for, you'll let us know and we'll make sure it's there. But the point of it, though, is not just about our community. We want to be community facing. I see in the bottom here, we're more than a school. We're a community and part of a larger community, this amazing Miami community, this amazing South Florida community. I've only been here a little bit and I haven't been able to see a lot of people, but the few people I've met, they're pretty amazing. I've also met a large amount of iguanas, but they have not said a word to me. So the people have been awesome. But what we want to focus on, we want to provide learning and social opportunities, not just for the kids, but for you guys, for the parents. I think I actually saw, and I know you guys call it different, it's not PTA, is it PTSA here? Right? I saw that you guys are doing a book club. So there's clearly a focus on, like, how do we help the parents be together? So I put this up, this wasn't from you guys. Dr. Lieber and I are going to do a book club for parents. We're very excited. We're actually it's a book called Raising Humans by Dr. Ross. It's a certain way to think about raising children in a positive way. We're looking forward. We'll send information out, the next few weeks, but we're not going to come with your book club. We'll start after you guys. But we want to be out there in the community as well. And we want to think about educational opportunities for the community at large, not just our parents, not just our grandparents, but just people in our community to realize that we are a resource for Miami, for South Florida, eventually for the world, but we'll start locally. We want to increase chesed. We want to do more activities. There's a need for more chesed now, a need for more outreach and for acts of kindness. And we want to figure out ways to support our families through this challenging time. We're going to figure out ways to be able to ensure that parents that may be struggling, that there's a way that they can reach out to us and we can figure out a way to help them. So that is the aspect of community. Community is not just our kids, not just our parents. It's really the Jewish people and the world. We have a responsibility to be a light unto the nations, and it's something I take very seriously and something I've seen the school do beautifully. So I want to end with this quote by one of my favorite people I've gotten to meet a few times. And, some people like to curl up to bed with like a Daniel Steele novel. For me, it's a book by Rabbi Sachs. And this quote, "Education means teaching a child to be curious, to wonder, to reflect, to inquire. The child who asks becomes a partner in the learning process, an active recipient. To ask is to grow." So my bracha, my blessing for all of us is that your children become an active participant in this learning this year, that you guys, the parents, become an active participant with us in everything that we do this year, and that we ask questions, that we continue to push each other to grow. And with that, I think it's a great segue into opening up Q&A. By the way, that's my email, and Dr. Lieber, you should feel free to email me anytime. Dr. Lieber, we will get back to you as soon as possible, but you know, we want to be able to, this is going to be at times a lot of questions. You can ask us anything, anytime. Right now, I want to open up, do we have the chat?
We have a partial chat, so some people have it, but they can also raise their hand through the participant button and we can call on them.
Okay, so we'll do open questions. I will just say this as just as a general, like, do your best to sort of have we questions that benefit all of us. If you have a me question that's really specific to your child, you know, and you're not sure you want to ask it, but we might have, you know, might set up a time to talk individually one-on-one. So if you have a question, there should be a little thing on when you click on participants, you should see a hand that you can click on. But I'm not seeing anyone raising hands. Are you, Rabbi Bosowicz or Rabbi Gutenberg? No. You guys are good?
I don't see any hands. I'm looking in the chat. I don't see any hands up either.
I'm trying to look now at did we do that great a job? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I mean,
I love it.
Dr. Lieber, you did a great job, but I can't imagine we didn't leave any open questions. Hold on, I'm trying to see. Claudia has a thumbs up. That's, oh, I see Mandy F. I'm gonna, okay, Mandy F.
I didn't like. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that was great. Thank you so much. I'm very excited and looking forward to that. Just a couple questions. The new schedule looks fantastic. Is that permanent even once we go in? I really liked the blocks the way you did, and I liked in the last period also. Is that mandatory? And the beginning, I see a later start time. Is that as well? Will that be implemented after COVID is long gone? Maybe halfway through the year, whenever we go back to physical campus?
So maybe what we'll do, Dr. Lieber, we'll send out the schedule now that we've revealed it, and it's exciting, and I'm sure you've all tweeted about it to your friends. But there were two different schedules. This is permanent for this year in the sense that when we're in school and when we're remote, they're almost similar. The remote one has a little bit of a later start and then tefillah at home. That will not be when we get to school in the building. So just look at the two different ones. In regard to it being permanent, like indefinitely, it's very possible. Like, we didn't build the schedule just because of COVID. We built it because we thought it actually might be best for children regardless. So it's quite possible this becomes the future schedule. It may not have 10-minute staggering passing periods in the future when we don't have COVID, but we will be tweaking it and looking at it. But we're feeling very positive about the blocks.
So I'm going to just add on to that.
Well, the optional piece, by the way, that you asked about optional, that is the last period is optional.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The last period is optional.
Yeah. Just for this year. It may not be in the future, but for now, it's because of COVID and everything that's going on. We want kids to have that breathing room, but it wouldn't be optional if they're taking an AP and there's an AP support or class during that period.
I would also add, just to answer the question as well, we hope that the students will take advantage of that period. That we hope that they will use that in the right way. The idea is not that the entire school leaves at 3:30. So, and I'll just reiterate what Dr. Jones said. We're going to keep tweaking it. We're going to keep reevaluating it based on student feedback. So we'll see what works and what doesn't work, and we'll plan accordingly. But for this year, it is permanent this year.
Right. I'll say this as sort of the partnership between us and you guys. You know, if your child is struggling, encourage them to be at that period, and we'll hopefully catch that as well. You know, I guess the most painful thing would be that, you know, your child needs more support and they're not taking advantage of that. We may see that and call you and say, hey, let's work together to get your child to be there. And as I did say, some students, we might wind up having to require them if they're really struggling and falling behind. But that's why the optional had an asterisk on it. But thank you. That's a great question. Okay, Emily Ebner. Although I apologize,
Hi.
it's brand new to me.
No apologies. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome aboard, Dr. Jones. I wanted to let you know, first of all, that I really appreciate this presentation and your sense of humor and everything that's infused and part of it. We had heard great things, and your delivery today has just confirmed all of that. This question actually is generated by my son, who will be going into 10th grade and has his eye toward college and happens to be many times one of those children who, as you said, ends up teaching his parents quite a lot. He posed an issue to me that just made me stop and think for a moment as I expressed to him my interest in him remaining home for at least a while to study virtually. Our family has been incredibly strict about the requirements. We are very nervous. Not generally, I'm not typically a nervous person, but I believe that this pandemic has reason for that sentiment. And when I mentioned this to him, and I said, no matter what the school decides, I hope that you will understand that we have your health as our best interest and all those things. He said to me, well, I just want to say, if the school opens and the teachers are expected to be there, how do I stay home? And how do I stay home and expect sort of not equal treatment at all, but more like, how do I justify that? And I think I'm just wondering, we're not there yet. And I'm grateful that the school has decided to have this staggered start. But I am wondering what happens with that, and whether, you know, in terms of teachers not having the same choice as students, and whether students feel some sense of responsibility about that. I was just wondering what your thoughts are for that moment, which you may say we're not there yet and we'll cross that bridge, and that's fine. But I'm just wondering what your thoughts are with respect to that.
I'm happy to share my thoughts, and I don't know your kid. He sounds awesome. It's just like, it's touching that he's thoughtful that way. So kudos to him. You know, we're not there. We're making decisions yet, but we are there in conversation. And I think there's two pieces of how I see it. And you know, feel free, anyone else wants to jump in, but there's two pieces. One is everyone, you know, and I've learned this, everyone's experiencing this and thinking about it differently. And some people, even if, you know, they feel that it's safe, other people that, you know, they have other reasons why it's not safe for them. So there's just that piece that's also important, that we will, by the time we open, you know, it's because we deem it safe, I guess, enough. You know, nothing's 100%. But that doesn't mean that everyone is going to feel that way, or that it actually will be safe for everyone if you have other issues. So I guess, and from your son's perspective, it is important to understand that not everyone's the same, and that's okay. With that said, and I mean, we've had some very long conversations recently. We are talking with the teachers. We do not want to force teachers to be in a space that is unsafe for them. That's one, but also if they feel unsafe. So they've been, you know, we're talking with them. We just sent out a survey even today about our professional development week and about when we go remote, who's comfortable coming into the building. I can tell you as a principal, you know, I have two very important groups of people, and those are the teachers and the students. And their safety, both of them are equally important to me. So we will be working with the teachers. And so what happens if a teacher says to us, I do not feel safe coming in the building, even though we do? We will be working with them. So I guess what I'm trying to say is your son should, if that's the concern, he should feel comfortable doing what's right for him and right for your family. And in worrying about the teachers, know that we're worrying just the same amount, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we take care of each one of our teachers.
Okay, thank you.
How does, I can't, the top,
Vado.
Vado? You should be
Acevedo, can you hear me?
Oh, hi, yes.
Hi, guys. Thank you again for this meeting and for all the ones that you've done before. You know, it's trying times, and you guys are really doing a great job. Thank you. This question is around the SAT. How are the plans for the August 30th test date? Are we planning to have the building open for them?
I'll pull it over Sue, but I believe yes, right?
Yes, we're moving ahead. We are moving ahead with COVID test. Are you unmuted? Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I was on the phone with the College Board and Mark Dusick, who's in charge of our testing. And we have, as of today, the maximum, which is like 14 kids. That's all. We're not taking any more. And they'll be spaced out at least 6 feet apart. And we're going to follow the complete protocol by the CDC and the College Board in terms of masks and sanitizers and so on and so forth. And if somebody comes in inappropriately dressed without the mask and without the appropriate, they can't share, they can't touch, we're gonna assign different bathrooms as well. And we will follow the complete protocol. And if we feel it's unsafe, a student will just not be allowed to take the test. So we've
Right.
worked it out. And the school,
Thank you.
thank the school for allowing us to give it, because we're not open and yet they're sanitizing and we're getting security and they're going to make it available so our kids can test. So again, thank you to the admin and to Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Caroline?
Hi. Thank you very much for this meeting. We are a new family coming
Welcome.
from New York.
Oh, wait.
Still in New York, actually, where we're moving next week. And so I have a son I have 4 children in the school, thank God. And we have a son in the high school. And I was wondering if there was a way for him, I mean, for all the new students actually to meet, to maybe have another tour of the school, because we did a tour a while ago, and so that they get a little bit more familiar with the space and maybe meeting the teachers. And because it's very difficult, especially for him to move from New York to Miami. He's a teenager, he has all his friends here, and so he's coming into a new school knowing barely anyone, and it's a bit difficult. So I was wondering if there was a way to meet physically. I don't know if it's possible.
The answer is yes. We are working on that for new students, for incoming freshmen. We're not just going to do remote. We're thinking about how to do something safely in person, because we see that value. I'll just, on a personal note, I moved here with 4 children, one of which is going to be an incoming freshman. I feel exactly what you're feeling, and we do want to make sure that even on a normal year, that transition can be very uncomfortable. And I'm sure the school has done a tremendous job before COVID, but what I'm hearing and what we're planning is going to be able to achieve that even under these circumstances. So you'll hear soon, but if you want to email me directly, in regard to a tour, something special you need for your child, that we can work something out. Even if the building's not fully set, we can do something safe for your child.
Okay, that'd be great. And I have another quick question. Is there going to be any sports or team or things like that? Maybe not right now, but in the near future?
So I may not have a full answer for this, so if anyone wants to chime in, I do know that the athletic department is working on things that are possible during COVID. It's not going to look the same, although it could even be, maybe Rabbi Gutenberg, I don't know if you have more insight into this. It could be things like they could wind up playing basketball without fans. So
there's a debate right now between South Florida and North Florida as to which leagues and which teams are going to be allowed to be open. Our coach Bishop, our athletic director, he is on the committee and he meets with them every week and is on the calls. So as of now, our younger divisions are on pause until the Chagim, after the holidays. And the high school one, we're waiting to see what the state of Florida decides, and then what in particular Miami-Dade will decide. But we're very much on top of it.
Because this is a great way to bond with students and
yes.
Well, I can tell you, I just want to say one new initiative that we got an email today from the coach that will help your son and would help any student who wants that physical activity. There are going to be from 5:30, because we can't do the earlier one. There's an earlier one for the younger kids, but I'm sorry, 4:30 to 5:30. So when school is over, they're going to be able to sign up 10 at a time, social distance, and they're going to create like essentially leagues or after school sports and they'll do different things on different days. So that is not only a great way for him to meet people, but it's also for any of you that are on here to get your kids moving and doing some sort of physical activity, which we obviously think is very important. So that's going to start, I think, almost on day one. They're going to be able to sign up for that. Again, I think it's only 10 people at a time to make sure that we're complicit with, you know, the CDC guidelines and whatnot. But yes, we will have that. So that is a good thing for him to sign up for.
I do want to be mindful of time. We're not going anywhere, but if you do want to leave, you are welcome. It is after 9. We're going to stay here to answer all the questions. But I just, for those of you just might feel like
we will not be offended at all.
Yes, I just want to be, I want to be respectful of the time, but we're here. Heather.
Yes, hi, good evening, Dr. Jones. Thank you so much for everything you all are doing to keep our kids safe and healthy and educated. And I know it's an extraordinary amount of work. So thank you to you and the entire team. And I look forward to meeting you in person one day.
Absolutely.
I just have a quick clarifying question based on Rabbi Gutenberg's email that had gone out about the campus reopening. So the virtual schedule that was on the right of the screen that you guys put up, that starts August 24th.
Correct.
And then the person schedule starts in October, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, thank you for clarifying that, because we had said we didn't want to forget to say that, and I think we did forget to say that. So
Correct.
Thank you for clarifying that. Yes, on August 24th, we start school remotely. We will go by that schedule. We will email everyone the schedule. And then God willing, when we come back to school, October 13th?
Yes, 13th.
That will be the in-person schedule.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
We'll send that out for clarification. Thank you. Sharon. Loser?
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
First of all, welcome. And the meeting was excellent. It really gave us all a great idea about how the whole school is going to be next year. And I love the block schedules. My son had that in another school, and it was fabulous. It's good for the teacher, and it's good for the student. Awesome. It's a really wonderful, I'm so happy you went to block schedules. Okay, we had a couple of questions. For the masks, and the breathing breaks, when are they going to be like, because these kids, people can't stay in the masks all day long, you know, it's very difficult.
So this, I mean, this is an ongoing question, and I will tell you personally, I've been trying to wear masks more just to get used to it. So on the one hand, I do recommend first trying to find masks that are as comfortable as possible. There's a huge difference between different masks. The mask I'm finding most comfortable is actually at Target for like $4 for 2. So if you haven't got that one, I recommend it. With that said, we haven't figured, not that we haven't figured out, we haven't scheduled. We are looking for the outside, I guess on the top floor to put, what do you call them, sails. Basically, we're trying to create outdoor space for kids to be able to congregate safely and also be mask relaxed. We're not asking, we don't want kids to like just toss their masks, but for them to be mask relaxed. We're also, hopefully gonna have a couple of like individual spaces for teachers. And if a student's having a hard time, we can figure out a way to have that individual space if they need that break. The biggest concern is what we don't want is a student who is just like, doesn't care, and just like takes it off. And that just means that they can't be safe there and other kids are at risk. But a kid who's struggling, come and talk with us. We'll see what we do. If a kid is really just can't handle it, we'll have to have a conversation about them staying remote. But we will work with them and try to figure out, just like any kid, if 80% of the kids can just handle it and it's not an issue, fine. But if there's a group of kids that are struggling, we're going to figure out how to make it work. And if we can't, we're going to have a conversation and we'll do our best to see what we can come up together with you guys. But we know that's going to be hard for some. We are building in time for that. And if that doesn't work, we have to figure out if we can, accommodate individually.
Right. They need to get fresh air anyway,
For sure. For sure. I mean,
and Sharon, during lunch, they can also, obviously, if they're sitting outdoors and they're eating lunch, that's a great time for the mask to come up.
That's also
where is lunch? The lunch is going to be outdoors?
It will be scattered. We're going to have all different places that they can eat lunch, because remember, we can't congregate all together.
Right.
But if we know that your son, for instance, is going to have a hard time, then we're going to know right away, okay, that's a student that we should definitely put on the patio. So we will try to address that need.
Okay. And one more thing, in the classrooms, is there going to be social distancing? Like, how are the classrooms going to work?
Yeah, so we have a grid. We have to go. It's also based on how many kids are in each class in each grade. But we have a special spreadsheet that basically tells us how many kids, desks, chairs can be in any one of our spaces, and based on that is going to dictate sort of which classes meet where. So we might have a larger class that actually meets in the lunchroom for their class, and smaller classes might meet in a smaller classroom, but it has to be social distance. So we have a mathematical system for that tells us literally based on each room and their square footage, how many students can be in each one of those spaces.
Okay, amazing. Sounds wonderful. Well, we're looking forward to coming back.
Thank you.
So,
We're looking
Hi.
forward to having him.
Joel Kruger. Say that right?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, welcome, Dr.
We can
Jones.
hear you, Joel, but we only see a dog.
Oh, yeah, that's Hazel. That's our new addition.
Okay.
The COVID dog?
A COVID dog that's been in the works for quite some time, but don't worry, we're not enrolling her. Although I'm sure she probably want to go. Anyway, it's more of a comment than a question. You know, I got on basically for the last half of the presentation. I thought it was amazing. You know, given the times that we're in, they're very uncertain, of course, we know. But you made it amazing and very reassuring. And I really, more that I'm so appreciative of the organization that you're showing to us, and that you know we're aware of, and all the good things that you have planned. And it seems like you've got everything under control. And I could not have been more impressed. And to kind of echo what Emily said was that my kids always tell me things or teach me things, and of course they both inform me that they're coming back to school, or they're going back to school. They don't want to be at home anymore, so I will leave them in your hands. But I just want to it was a great presentation, and I'm very very confident, and because of your confidence, and reassured. So thank you very much, Dr. Lieber and Dr. Jones, and we look forward to an amazing school year and great success from the students and great success from all the teachers. So all the best.
Thank you.
That dog spoke so nicely, Joel.
Yeah. Joel, I definitely look forward to meeting you, but that was really appreciated. Thank you so much. Yona?
Hi, thank you again. It's been really enlightening. I just had a question about clubs and other extracurriculars like theater. Like, I was just wondering if that's still going to be happening.
Dr. Jones, I just want to tell you, Siona is a student.
Oh yes, I'm a student.
She's an awesome student. I just want to let you know she's a student.
Thank you. Well, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Fiona, and I look forward to meeting you in Zoom and in person. My understanding, and this is one of the very few things that are not happening this year, it is the drama department, the play because of COVID. But I will say, if you are a drama person, we are, as an elective, we are doing improv. And we are going to be creating an improv team. So if you are interested in drama and you do not have an improv background, I certainly recommend taking it. I know the person teaching it, and he's taught improv for a long time. He's pretty amazing at teaching improv. It should be pretty awesome. And if that's something you're interested, please take it. And the hope is that we'll have drama back, as soon as it's over.
I hope it's only a one-year stint that we do not have it.
Yeah. I think that Dr. Lieber, am I right? Is that kind of the only thing that we had to?
That was the one thing. Unfortunately, Siona will have been, she will have graduated, but that is the one thing I would encourage you also, Siona, to take that improv class. I hear about it just about every day, multiple times a day. I think it's going to be terrific. So I would encourage you to take that, and maybe that will, help with the situation. But that was the one thing that we had to cut from our program.
Yeah, and I'm super excited that you came on this. Sarah Cook.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now we can.
Okay. I have a daughter going into 9th grade. I'm coming from the middle school. At one of the 9th grade orientations a number of months ago, they had mentioned something about a certain laptop that was going to be used for this year. What's the situation now with all the changes as far as which laptop?
So and Dr. Lever, please chime in here. I understand that the idea was pre-COVID that they're going to add Chromebooks each year until the whole high school has them. That's still a goal that I want to talk about for next year, but we are discussing, and I've been meeting with the head of the IT department, that for this year in the building, we actually think every student's going to need a computer in the building because of the social distancing and because teachers are actually planning. As they're planning, they're thinking about remote and in person at the same time. So they'll be using the platforms like Google Classroom that the students are used to. It is going to be more likely that a student will need a computer in class more than in years past. So the conversation right now is to allow students to bring their own device for this year. And that could be a Windows machine, an Apple machine, a Chromebook, but likely by next year, it would have to be all Chromebooks, but that hasn't been decided yet.
Okay, so any laptop that they have is fine.
Correct. Yeah, we're trying to make sure we want to make sure the filtering system works, and according to the IT, it does for no matter what device they bring in. We do believe Chromebook it may not be the best computer, but it is a better ecosystem for us to do the work that we want to do, and also filter and monitor. But for this year, we can't expect everyone to run out and get a specific computer for when we get back.
And I'll just add on, Dr. Jones, and for everyone on here, if your child does not have one, please do not be embarrassed. Please do not run out and buy one. We will have some that we will be able to lend to your child. Just email us and we will make sure that we can get something set up for them. So do not worry if they do not have their own device.
Yeah, please let us know.
All right, thank you so much.
Diana.
Remote learning. Offline.
What? I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you. Can you start again?
Yeah. During remote learning, tefillah happens offline.
Correct. Yes.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, do you have, yeah?
No, because if that's the case, then what are we as a modern Orthodox school going to do? What are we as a modern Orthodox school going to do to that?
Diana, you're like breaking in and out. We can't hear you well.
It sounds like you're saying something very important, so I really want to hear it, but I didn't.
Are you saying that you want to dive in all together on Zoom?
Yeah, we'll see if we get this work. You'll call, okay. Great. We're definitely open to ideas. We talked about having an open Zoom for any students that do want to go in. We're not sure, if kids will take advantage of that or not, but we're open to explore that. It's not ideal. It's not what we want. It's not, tefillah to me is just as important as any science, math, Chumash, or, AP class. But during this time, we're trying to make this work as best as possible. Dr. Karp.
Thank
Can't hear you.
Yeah, you're on mute, Dr. Karp.
I was clicking it. How are you?
You're good. We hear you.
Excellent. Good evening. And first of all, thank you all for an excellent job. Great presentation and the tremendous amount of effort. It clearly shows, and it's incredible to do it under these circumstances. The couple of questions. One, if there's been a teacher survey to get an idea of the percentages of teachers who would willingly come back. Because if there are some teachers who would not, what would be the strategy in terms of delivering instruction? Would it be a different teacher, or would those teachers be teaching from their homes?
Right, so I can't answer with certainty the strategy yet. Like I said, we just sent a survey to teachers about our upcoming professional development week and being in the building. Some teachers expressed interest in being in the building while we're remote. But we will probably send out a survey. I was just asked today to do it. We'll probably send it out on Monday to get exactly the information so that we can see if we can accommodate and see if we can, ensure that we want every teacher to feel safe and be safe. And if there's teachers that are struggling with that, we want to see what we can do. If a teacher can't, or a teacher just tells us, this is, something's changed, I don't want to do this, we'll definitely come up with a strategy, but my hope is to make sure that we work with all our teachers and come up with a way for it to work. So if it's remote, if that works for a class, that's certainly something we would look at.
Okay, and if I may, just one final question in terms of the schedules, with the individual schedules. I know some of the classes, the students are given requirements to complete over the summer, and so would be wondering when those schedules would be out, so students would be aware of what the requirements are, so that they can properly prepare for the beginning of the school year.
So I'm going to jump in, Dr. Jones, if you don't mind. The requirements, do you mind?
No, I don't.
Okay. I'm like, I should have waited for you to answer that question before I said, do you mind? The requirements are already out. Any classes that they are in are on our website. They have been on there. Please check. If you can't find it, please email us and I will send it to you directly. Any AP classes, I know for every single English class, there's a requirement, there's a choice book, and there's usually a required book with an assignment. All of those are on there, and they will be due the first day of school. So the schedules will be given out. I'll just add this. We are trying to plan a window for those of you that are returning students. We had a drop-off book time. We had about 3 hours that the kids could come and drop off their textbooks. We're planning on doing the same thing for picking up textbooks and picking up their schedule, and a special surprise that we have in store for them. So we are going to give them their schedule, their hard copy of their schedule at that time. But any requirements are already online. Please have him go online and look at the requirements there for the classes he's taking.
And how do we know which classes they have? Is that also available to know which?
Yes, that's available. He or your wife, someone emailed me. Actually, you could just email me offline and I can give you any of those classes that he's recommended for and he's going into.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Diane, I'm going to go back to you, even though you dropped to the bottom of the list here, but I want to give you your shot. So there you go.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm having technical difficulties. I just wanted to know, so if there's if tefillah is happening offline, what are you, I guess, as a modern Orthodox school going to do to help nurture the spiritual connection for the kids until school does happen in person?
Right. So that is definitely important. We are, let's put tefillah aside for a second, but then I want to bring it back into the conversation. Tefillah, I'll just, I don't know how, I don't know any of you guys really, but tefillah is a struggle in general. So I do want to talk about that, but we are talking about, hopefully within the classes themselves, we're nurturing that. We are talking about possibly events, things like a Tashlich event, we're looking to do things that hopefully would be meaningful and spiritual, even when we're remote. And even if it's possible, we're going to see if we can do some things in person to address that as well. So it's not something that's not important. And certainly tefillah is not the only place to do that, but it is I actually look at tefillah, like if we're doing a good job, tefillah sort of, we see that it's working. But we know kids struggle with it, adults struggle with it. Being remote makes it harder. The idea that, we talked about, should we just have we'll have a Zoom davening, and our kids going to take advantage of that. My understanding is a lot didn't at last year. We're not opposed to that. And maybe we can even open up for kids that are interested in a learner's minion or a discussion group. Nothing's off the table. But it was also realizing that because we're not all in the building, some kids will go to shul with a parent or their parents, and some will, want to daven, but they're going to daven shorter or even longer. So it was really complicated to think about how do we do this remotely. But if anyone on this call is thinking, what, I really would like to have a place virtually to open up, and maybe there's a Rebbe and a teacher that's able to run a tefillah, I would be glad to do that. So please let me know. But we're not neglecting. This is not, you're not signing up for Florida Virtual, you're signing up for Hebrew Academy. So that is not taken lightly. And it's the reason, yes, everyone's here for a great education, but you're here because it's a Jewish day school. So I don't take that lightly. And please, reach out to me and ask me more questions. And if you have ideas, I would definitely entertain them.
Thank you.
Sarah. Zohar?
Hello, Dr. Jones. Good evening. Hi,
Hi.
Dr. Lieber, Rabbi Gottenberg, Rabbi Bosowich. Thank you so much for the presentation. Very helpful. I know the times are uncertain and the situation is fluid and it could change at any moment. But my question, I have a couple questions. Number one, I wanted to know in previous years, if the classes were larger scale, let's say there was 30 students per class. In a case where you have 30 students per class, is the class going to be split by 2 teachers for the same subject, or are you going to have it in a larger space, being that I'm on the spacing committee? That's number one. Number two, how's it going to work with when the kids go back to school and they drive? Are they going to be given parking spots again? Because I do have a son in the high school and the middle school, so commuting for the 2 of them is important. And number 3, I know in previous years there was SAT prep, so I wanted to know if part of the last period, are we going to offer SAT prep for the juniors or the sophomores?
I'm going to take the first question, Dr. Lieber. If you can take the last two.
Perfect.
One, because I have no idea what you're talking about with parking permits.
Perfect.
But the answer is well, it's yes or no. I mean, you're on the spacing committee, so So like we don't have a lot of large classes like that, but we actually have one that we are very concerned about, and not just because of COVID, because we shouldn't have large classes of students. So we are looking we're looking to hire somebody and actually split that class anyway. But in regard to safety, we have to see who's in every class. If we wound up in a situation where we had a class size that couldn't split to another teacher, we would have to figure out a way that, that the way that it's taught, the teacher's with a group for a certain amount of time and this other students are doing something else, a project, and they're switching. We're figuring that out. But my hope is that that's more of a strategy to deal with a safety issue. It's not something we hope to have to do. We're hoping that we have enough spaces, because even that is a large science class right now that we're looking to split. We talked about even if we had to run that, that might be in the lunchroom. But that's not ideal educationally, even though it's possible. So we're trying to figure that out.
Okay.
Dara, parking permits?
Okay, parking, yes, we're gonna have parking spots. I think we have the same amount of spots that we've always had. It's a bit of a lottery, I know that. Seniors definitely get priority over the younger ones. I would also say carpool is a great idea to make sure that we have more spots. If you're coming from the same community, we actually had a family from Miami Beach that had wanted 3 spots. And there are 3 children that were coming from the same, I think, street. So if you could carpool, that would be great.
I think the bus is not happening this year from Aventura, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So I know it's going to be a bit of an issue because we're going to have more people that need to park their cars. We have a certain amount of allotted spots, and I'm sure Rachel Weinberger is on here, and I'm not sure what she's doing with her head right now, if she's shaking it or smiling or telling me to stop talking, but she's gonna have to help us make sure. Listen, once the kids can go back to school, we all know we want them in school. They can't come to school if they can't park their car, and the anxiety of not having a spot is really hard on the kids. So we're gonna figure it out somehow.
Okay.
A third question, SAT prep. Great question. We actually used to have it as an elective. Because we added in that last period, we took it out of the elective to give some more kind of fun electives. Like we added in a film class, and we added in photography, some other things that we thought were more, would break up the day and the monotony a little bit. So yes, the answer is they are not going to do it as a grade, like not for 10th grade or 11th grade per se, but let's say you have a student, hypothetically, going into 11th grade and he's a boy and he'd like to take an SAT prep, he goes to one of those teachers and we're Dr. Jones, we're gonna have some sort of sign up form so that, again, we don't have too many kids in one classroom at the same time. But he'll be able to sign up with the English or the math teacher and say, can you go over SAT prep with me? We'll probably need a day in advance just to make sure that they're clear, their schedule is clear from their other classes, and they don't need that prep time. But yes, they will be able to help with SAT prep.
Okay.
I would say I am a strong believer, and I would go so far as to say Dr. Jones is in the same boat, that after spending the kind of money that you are all spending to send your children to the Hebrew Academy, we don't want you to have to get a tutor. If you wanted additional, that's one thing, but if our teachers could provide that support for your kids, we want to be able to do so.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Claudia.
Hi, thank you so much, and really good presentation as well. I have two questions, and it's regarding also Diana about the tefillah in the morning. I don't know if you can put it a little bit after the morning or something like that, because even though they have the chance to go to the shul or something like that in the community, I don't know, I feel it's part of also the students all together, and if also they can have it all together, it gives them the spiritual strength. That's something that I really believe is part of Hebrew Academy. And the second question, and I know we're in this pandemic and all the situation, we don't have the visibility what's going on, but I don't know if you have discussed about the trip to Israel. Do you have any information that you can share? What are you thinking about it, or nothing yet until you have visibility? Can you share?
Lifted his hand, so do you want to chime in? And I want to circle back. I want to respond again to the tefillah question.
Or Tweedo, do you want to speak first about it, or? So as of now, we have not canceled the trips that take place in the late spring. We felt like it was too early to do so. We're definitely keeping an eye for what's happening, but it has not been canceled yet. We won't go if it's not safe, like what happened last year. But over the next few months, we will be monitoring the situation, and we will know more then.
So, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know who was on the call that maybe lost the trip last year. I know I was at a school that had an 8th grade trip to Israel and had to get canceled. Very painful. I really hope that we can have those trips. You know what? And just as a response to Fila, I'm going to take back the question to the team, discuss it. You don't know me, but in my old school, I taught many different tefillah classes. A maker tefillah, to try to infuse connection and meaning to tefillah, is something that is critical to the Jewish people, and we know how hard it is. So it is not, the decision to do it this way is not a dismissal of tefillah by any means. And if I can be very honest, I think the fact that, when we're in school, we have tefillah later, like you're requesting, that's because tefillah is, if we did it earlier, students wouldn't show up and parents would not bring their children to tefillah at that time. My goal is to have tefillah at the beginning of the school day, because we know every kid wants to be there. Every kid's excited to be there, and it's meaningful and it's amazing. We're not there yet, but I promise you that is the road that we're on. And in regard to the remote, let me think of, and let me talk to the team about at least what possibilities and options we can offer. And then I would ask you to encourage your children to take those options and those opportunities. And then we can hopefully do this together. No more questions. Not that you never have to ask questions again. You have our emails. You can always reach out. I know Dr. Lieber, I see a hand up, but Dr. Lieber also is always available. Tracy.
Hi, good evening. First, thank you for all your hard work and dedication, and all the staff and all the parents involved. I just had a question about pre-SATs. Is the school going to be offering pre-SATs this year? Is it in school? Is there any schedule? And also, is there any schedule? What are the dates for the other SATs other than the one mentioned in August? And it will be open to the 11th graders in addition to the 12th graders.
Yes, 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 yes. You want me to take it?
If Sue wanted to jump
I
in.
was going to say, is Mrs. Ennis wanting to take? I'll just answer the PSAT question.
You answer the yeah.
It's always in October. It's always around the same time. We have to change it sometimes because we're not actually in school. It might be a holiday. But if the PSAT, if the College Board is offering it, we will give it. I don't know that it's going to be offered this year at that time. They may do a later date because they know that not so many students could sit, because remember, it's for the entire 10th and 11th grade. So they may have to move that over. Just like the APs, they actually went to online for APs this year. The College Board may even be considering what I heard is a PSAT online. So yes, this is
So
it.
we'll let parents know as soon as we know.
Yes.
Okay. In fact, the College Board keeps it. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. The College Board keeps updating me every day with different information. As of now, they are prepared to give us the PSAT. I think it was October 28th or some date like that. If we could figure out spacing, they're prepared to give a paper version. If not, they say maybe just for 11th grade, who will be eligible for national merit. So everything is still unsettled with them in terms of the PSAT. In terms of the SAT, yes, we've gotten dates for the SAT that any grade level can sign up for September 27th, October 18th. They've given us additional Sunday test dates, which they haven't done in the past, but based on all the problems with COVID and students not testing and schools still mandating test scores, thank you to the school for allowing us to do it. And the College Board has given us Sunday test dates, which are very hard to come by because the whole world takes it on Saturday. So
Can you post on our website
yes,
all the SAT options and ACT options for the next 2 months?
Yes, those are the only ones I have. The rest keep changing.
But even those dates,
Yeah,
so everyone
right.
can
And there are specific requirements. We used to have to give a paper version, and we fought it. Now they can go online, and we need a rabbi's letter, which we have. We can give it to anybody who needs. So anyone who wants anything about registering for any of these tests until we get something up online, you can certainly text me, and I'll give you all the information.
All right, thank you so much. It is 9:41. I could be here all night with you guys. You guys have been amazing, but I will cut it at this point so we can all get some rest. I want to thank everybody, all the teams, Dr. Lieber, all of the leadership team and the staff for being on this call, and for you, parents. It means a lot to me to know how much you guys care. Your questions were important, they were meaningful, and I do want to say, please don't stop asking those questions. My email, ejones@rasg.org, and Dr. Lieber, D-L-I-E?
L-I-E.
L-I-E-B-E-R at rasg.org. That's what we're here for. We're here to do this together. So let's get through this year, and it's going to be great. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We can't wait to see you all in person and your kids. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.